Hey, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to this channel. I do hope they're doing fine and I do hope they're going to like this video. And if you're watching this channel for the first time, you're going to subscribe to this channel so that whenever you're doing such video, you're always notified. Ladies and gentlemen, I've always said that politics is a game of numbers. Politics doesn't need just mere popularity. If your popularity cannot materialize to numbers, kama ile umaarufu yako iwezi kuwa numbers, even if you shout, even if you have supporters who are louder, they won't finally help you when it comes to winning an election. And that's why for quite a very long time, the people of Mount Kenya, they have been known to turn out to vote. They don't make a lot of noise. They don't talk too much. But when it's an election date, when it comes to casting votes, they'll turn out in large numbers. And I can remind you, for an instance, when Uhuru Kenyatta was being elected in 2013, they even picked people from hospitals to take them to vote. That's what it means to have supporters who will help you win an election. That aside, over the one last week, remember there is events that have happened where Rigathi went to the Rigathi and opposition leaders went to Kalonzo Musyoka's home, and equally at the same time, Raila Odinga and President Ruto were launching various projects in the Kisumu and Luo Nyanza region. And remember that this is ahead of the celebration, the celebration that are coming over Sunday. That's fast. Ladies and gentlemen, but there's one thing I noticed from these two factions. It's now clear, all the high chances that Raila Odinga will withdraw from the 2027 presidency. Because in any case, that's the last card President Ruto has to play. If Raila Odinga doesn't support him, then even running for that 2027 election will be very difficult. So Raila Odinga is likely to support President Ruto and in return negotiate for various positions, including the running mate position and a lot of CS position within his people. So they will form a coalition. Right, they're likely to form a coalition when times gets closer between ODM and UDM. And on the other side, what was happening at Kalonzo's home is that if you listen to what Rigathi Gachagua said, is that Rigathi is like also not going to run for the 2027 presidency. If you are a close listener to what Rigathi was saying, it's like Rigathi is not going to run for the 2027 presidency, and because Kalonzo Musyoka must be on that ticket. And I've always done videos here explaining why Kalonzo and Rigathi cannot be on the same ticket. These are like cousins, like Rigathi said, they are cousins, that people come from the same area. You cannot have them on the president and on the running mate position, because then other parts of the country will feel they have been sidelined. So Rigathi and Kalonzo, one of them won't be on that ballot. And as indications show, Rigathi will sacrifice being on the ballot either for running mate or for presidency. And high chances are that opposition is going to give Kalonzo Musyoka that ticket for the 2027 presidency. And on the other side, I've said that President William Samoei Ruto will be running for presidency. Now, assuming that the opposition will agree, which I've always said is a bit difficult, and especially when we bring the Matiang'i factor, Martha Karua factor, and a lot of things inside. But assuming that we will be heading to an election with President Ruto against Kalonzo Musyoka, regardless of who are their running mate. Because one thing I can assure you is that if President Ruto is being supported by Raila Odinga, then the running mate is highly likely to come from Nyanza, if not Western region. And if Kalonzo Musyoka is the one who will be having the opposition flag bearer, then the running mate will be either from Western region or from the Gusii region, that's Fred Okengo Matiang'i. So that's the election we are going to get into. So let's look into the potentiality of winning this election. And if you've been watching clearly, you hear that the side of Ruto and the Raila side, they have been tinting the opposition as tribal. And the only reason that they are calling it tribal is because the opposition has tribal numbers. It's not that the side of President Ruto and are not tribal. No, it's because the opposition tribally, if they put their tribes together, their numbers are working better for them than the other side of President Ruto. Because President Ruto, the two major tribes that will support him, that's the Kalenjin and the Luo tribes. If you compare them against the Kampas and even the Kikuyus alone, even if you don't put Western in that calculation, then the Kikuyus and the Kampas will outdo these Luo and Kalenjin factions. So that's why they have been always tinting Rigathi Gachagua as tribal. Otherwise, if you see these parties, ODM belongs to Raila Odinga, which is a tribal. Is also majorly of Luo Nyanza. UDA was majorly a Rift Valley party, although it was widely supported by Mount Kenya region. Rigathi Gachagua has formed a party that's a party of Mount Kenya region. Wiper Party is a party of Kampani. Upa for Matiang'i is a party for Kisii. These parties are majorly supported by people from where these leaders come from. So the issue of saying tribal doesn't work. It's just a narrative that indicates that if we go to the tribal line, then President Ruto will find it difficult to run to compete against the opposition come 2027. But in any case, that's how the election of the Republic of Kenya is done. It's done in tribal arrangement. Even if these tribes don't support their own, they'll support a certain candidate in unison. Like 2022, the Kikuyus in unison supported President Ruto. The Luos in unison, Nyanza in unison supported Raila Odinga. And it's not going to change. So, in 2027, if Kalonzo Musyoka is running against President Ruto, then the Kampas and the Kikuyus are going to support Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Let's leave alone with the running mate. If you put the Kikuyus of this republic and you put the Kampas, now that they will be having a presidential candidate, the Kampas have been voting about 1.7. That's when Kalonzo Musyoka has not even been in the ballot like 2022. But if Kalonzo Musyoka is on the ballot, trust me, the Kampa vote is going to go to 2.3, 2.5 million. That's the Kampas in the Ukambani region and the Kampas in diaspora, that's including Nairobi and other parts of the country. Let's say they have 2.5. The Kikuyus in 2022 gave President Ruto 3 million votes because it's almost a half, as they say, 47%. So that was about 3 million votes. But that's minus the votes of Kikuyus from other parts of the country, like Nakuru and Nairobi. So if you put the entire Kikuyu votes together, count it at 4 to 4.5 million at the worst case scenario. So if you're putting 4.5 million plus 2.5 million, the opposition is already at 7 million. Let's look at the Raila Odinga and Ruto side. The Luo Nyanza right now as I'm speaking is without the Kisii voting block. Unless Matiang'i joins the other side of Raila and Ruto, which is very difficult or which is like impossible. So the Kisii vote is already subtracted from the vote that Raila Odinga has been enjoying for quite a long time. And another factor that undermines the vote from Nyanza, that's Luo Nyanza, is that the turnout is not quite good. Even when Raila Odinga has been on the ballot. Let's give them 1.5 and we had 2 million votes from the Kalenjin. That's about 3.5. If we had other Kalenjins and Luo Nyanzas from other parts of the country, this one will become about 4.5 to 5 million votes. So the opposition is going to start at 7 million votes, while this one are about 5 million votes. And that's why I've always said that it's very difficult to defeat this opposition. And whoever advised the government to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, got the calculation wrong, because as we see things right now, Rigathi is more than determined to ensure that he will sacrifice anything possible, even if he's not going to run, even if he's going to, his tribe is not going to get any top position, just to ensure that, as he's been saying, that this government doesn't get re-elected. Putting that aside, ladies and gentlemen, in my next video, I'll be doing what will happen. What can happen in case Raila Odinga withdraws his support from the current government? Because Raila Odinga is a man of surprises. Others, ladies and gentlemen, you can tell me your comment in the comment section. I'll take my time to give and brief a response. Have a nice weekend and stay safe whenever you are.